Hey, it's Game Hydro. Today I'm going to go over a tier list of the Mythics and which ones are the best and not the best, and rank them from S tier, A tier, B tier, and so on and so forth for lucky offense. All right, starting off, we got the Chef. He is a melee type, a berserker, got excellent attack power and pretty good hit points. So he doesn't have to hide behind a tank or anything like that. So his stats: assassinates enemies. Okay, no. Hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. Skills: recovers damage, hit points increase by 10, blah, blah, blah. For every 1% of hit points lost, attack power increases by 0.85%, and attack speed by 0.85%. So he gets better as he takes damage. All right. And then level 6, the first time hit point falls below 5% in each wave, hit point will not drop below that for 5 seconds, and all attacks will be evaded. Recipe, fairly reasonable. So he's pretty good. I'm going to give him B+ tier because he's not the best, but he's certainly not the worst. The Ninja, let's see. Hit points a little lower, attack power a little lower, movement speed high, swings your sword at the target, dealing 150% critical chance damage, and at the start of battle becomes invisible for 1 second and moves to the opposite tile. So he'd be a great one to stick in the back in order to nail some bosses. Level 6, all attacks against enemies with 50% or less hit points become critical hits. So good killer of enemies that are already worn down. That would typically require you not to put him in the back in order to take the full advantage of that, though. Merge, pretty easy merge. No legendaries required there. So I'm going to give him a B+ tier as well, especially higher tier for when you're earlier in the game. Bandit King, this is the one you start off with. Hit points are a little bit low, and attack power is decent. Little low. But that can be mitigated with upgrades early on in the game because you get him so early. You get him in the tutorial. 80% damage to nearby enemies with 2 coins gained. And at the start of the battle, increases crit rate of all allies by 1.5% for each bandit on the field, not stacking. And then level 6, at the start of battle for each bandit owned, permanently increases hit points by 50 and attack power by 25. So the more bandits you have summoned, the better. That disincentivizes you to merge bandits a little bit. And merging, super easy. Not as good as others, but has his place. I'm going to go B tier. Next up, we got Meow AI. Okay. Well, hit points very high. Attack power very high. And the skills are 950% damage to all enemies in the front. Every 4th attack fires a pulse beam that deals 120% damage. And then level 6, attacks have a chance to teleport and deal 220% damage to nearby enemies using the pulse blade. Recipe, fairly reasonable. 1 legendary. That's a pretty strong one. I'm going to give him A- because he can serve as both a tank and an area of effect damage dude. A-. All right. Next up, we got the Dragon, which deals lots and lots and lots of damage and has lots and lots and lots of hit points, and deals damage, can deal damage across a range while also damaging multiples. At the start of battle, descends to a random location, dealing 80% damage, breathes out a powerful flame that deals 110% area damage to the target, And then Flame ignites the ground, dealing damage equal to 600% of total attack power over 10 seconds. That's pretty wild. Merging requires 3 legendaries, so this one takes a lot of luck to get, which it's easy to see why with insane stats like that. That is S tier right there for sure. Next up, we got the Mechromancer. Produces robots to fight in battle, can handle a lot on its own. So the stats required for this, or the stats for this one, are very low. Hit points and attack power. Range is high. Let's see if the skills make it legit. Summons a Mechabot. Every 4th attack becomes a chain attack, dealing 70% attack power to 3 enemies. When summoning Mechabots, summon an additional 1 Mechabot. Alright, so the Mechabots are kind of legit. The Mechabots have 3,500 attack power, or hit points, and 500 attack power. So when multiples of those are on screen, they can overwhelm the enemy nicely. And then you got the Super Mechabot, which is much stronger, obviously. I'm going to give this one a B tier because even though its stats suck, the Mechabots are pretty legit. And it can summon quite a few Mechabots as the round goes on. Next up, we got Scarred. This one is definitely a tank. Super high hit points, low attack power. Oh, I forgot to go for the recipe right here. Recipe, fairly reasonable, 1 legendary. All right, back to Scar. Recipe, pretty cheap, 1 legendary, no epics. All right, skills. Bites the target, dealing damage equal to 1% of its hit point and recovers 20% of its hit points. Enemy kill increases its hit points by 500. And when moving, there's a chance to evade enemy attacks. So pretty much untouchable tank with low attack power. Good to stack other units behind, though, especially low health, high damage units. We're going to go B tier. Nah, B plus tier for this one. Next up, Clint. Speaking of ones that you could stack behind Scar. Low hit points, ultra high attack power, ranged attack. Fires a lucky bullet. The number of bullets increased by 1 time each time Lucky Day is used. Fires a lucky bullet every 7th attack, which deals an additional 200% of attack power. And then fires a lucky bullet every 5th attack. So this one, low hit points, sky high damage, pretty reasonable hit right there. I'm going to give him B plus to A minus tier because you can also stick him behind normal tanks like the robots that you summon in battle, and he'll still be effective that way. No, I'm going to give him A minus. That is a ridiculous amount of attack power. Very, very good against bosses. Next up, the Punk, a battle-loving chameleon. I thought that said bottle-loving chameleon at first. I was going to say, yay, an alcoholic chameleon. Loses control and attacks multiple targets when excited. Low hit points, medium attack power, and is a range type. Adds an additional projectile during 30% attack power damage. Once per wave, if hit points drop below 30%, goes stealth for 2 seconds. At the start of the battle, attack speed increases by 60%. Recipe is a little more expensive on this one. No common ones. I'm going to go B minus just because the recipe is a little bit expensive, but definitely has his uses, but not as useful as others. So B minus. All right. Next up, we got Carter. A friendly-looking robot supports linked allies. way, way high hit points, low attack power, heals linked allies for 30% of their hit points. All right, we got a healer. At the start of the battle, links with the ally behind Carter and takes 50% of their damage taken. All right, so at the start of battle, meaning at the start of the wave. So you can change the linked ally as the battle goes on. And then level 6, Carter's attack power increases by 30% of the linked ally. And the linked ally's hit point increased by 30% of Carter's hit points. So if you link the right ally with Carter, his attack power can grow sky high, which is definitely a force multiplier there. And then merging is expensive. You got to have 2 epics and a legendary. Even with that, with how expensive that is, I'm giving him a B plus with the potential to go A plus if he's linked with Clint or an extremely powerful non-mythic DPS type. Next up, you got Daner. Looks young, former military band member, heals allies with upbeat music. So 3750 hit points, 1800 attack power, or heal power, I guess. Heals an ally with the highest damage taken during the wave for 20% of their hit points over 3 seconds. And then every third attack restores hit points equal to 3% of its attack power to all allies within the range. Increase healing from Daner's skills by 50%. Recipe, once again, is pretty expensive for Daner, but the ability to heal everybody on the screen, especially when you flood the board with commons, rares, epics, and legendaries, that's extraordinarily useful and serves to basically increase the amount of attack damage everybody can do, especially your DPS types. So I'm giving Daner an A. That's excellent. Definitely worth summoning, even though he's expensive. Next up, we got Mush King. Now, everybody knows I find mushrooms extraordinarily useless because their stats suck. Mush King has 3,000 hit points, 2,500 attack power. So his attack power is pretty decent here. Skills, we got inflicts poison on the nearest unpoisoned enemy, dealing damage equal to 5% of attack power every 0.3 seconds for a total of 10 seconds. So 5% times 10 times, let's see. Shit, my math sucks. 5% times 10 equals 50%. And then multiply it by like 3.3. That's like, I don't know, 400% damage for somebody who already has pretty good damage. Poison stacks 4 times. And if the poison target dies, the poison passes on to nearby 2 enemies. All right, so he can end up smoking quite a few people this way. Hit points are still low. Merging is not super expensive. You got 1 common in there, including mushrooms, which don't have much use otherwise. So I'm giving Mush King a B. And finally, you've got the princess, who is a tank. Young but courageous, she has earned everyone's trust, and she stands on the front lines blocking enemy attacks and supporting allies. So 40,000 hit points, 300 attack power. Hit points are obviously ridiculously high. Summons a soldier. Oh, let's see what the soldier stats are. Soldier has 6,000 hit points and 300 attack power. Phantom Knight, that is. Back to the princess. Summons a soldier near a random ally every 5 seconds, taunting nearby enemies. Every 5 seconds she summons one of these things. Okay. When a soldier dies, nearby enemies are stunned for 1.5 seconds. When a soldier dies, restores to herself 20% of hit points. And the hit point, okay. So she basically at level 6 becomes literally undefeatable, pretty much. And merging requires 1 rare and 2 legendaries. No epics and no commons. So for the amount of skill you got out of her, that's actually excellent. 40,000 hit points, 300 attack power, basically undefeatable, and with all the soldiers that she can flood the screen with, deals a lot of damage. I'm giving her A tier. A plus tier, possibly. Because I'd say she's the second best one behind the dragon. The dragon's obviously the best one, but the toughest one to summon. But the princess is pretty close to how good the dragon is. All right, so there's your list of the best mythics in the game, the highest tier mythics. And so use this list to figure out which of these mythics you should purchase using your diamonds, because any mythic that you don't own costs only 3,000 diamonds to purchase. And there's quite a few free diamonds given out throughout the game by summons, by quest rewards, spinning in the lucky wheel, other rewards, etc. So you eventually you're going to own all the mythics, and you're going to have all of them on your team and have to choose multiple times per game probably which ones to summon using the non-mythic characters that you have. So use this list to figure out the best ones, especially when you got a choice between multiples, and to figure out which ones to purchase using 3,000 diamonds apiece. Anyways, that was the tier list of mythics for Lucky Offense. This is Game Hydro. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like what we are doing.